At least 11 people were killed by Israeli airstrikes on southern Lebanon, making Saturday one of the deadliest days since a truce between the two countries went into effect in June. Lebanon's health ministry said a home on the edge of Ansar village was destroyed, killing 7 people, including 3 children. Another attack in Deir al-Zarani killed 4 people. The Lebanese prime minister criticized the attack, saying they intimidate residents in their homes and undermine efforts to stabilize the situation in the south. We can now bring in Ziad Majed, professor of Middle East Studies at the American University of Paris and author of The Middle East Mirror of the World Understanding the Current Shift. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So, I want to begin with the airstrikes yesterday. After they occurred, the Lebanese president condemned the attacks, and then he said that the repeated violations of the framework agreement is sending a clear message on the negotiation process. So at this point, where do things currently stand in the talks between Israel and Lebanon?
Well, I think the talks will continue because the Lebanese authorities have decided to carry these negotiations, not to allow Iran to negotiate on behalf of Lebanon. But the strategic mistake, in my opinion, is that they have only considered that Donald Trump and the American administration is the partner or would be the power that will put pressure on the Israeli to end their occupation. This restricted their diplomatic maneuver. They have accepted American conditions following that, and they are also, in a way, accepting Israeli conditions because so far Israel has rejected withdrawing from zones that it occupied. It has continued committing crimes in Lebanon. Other than what happened on Saturday, you know that the Israelis, and that's what the Minister of Defense said, and what the Prime Minister himself, Netanyahu, also confirmed, will continue to occupy the zone where they are deployed today. They have herbicided the zone, destroying dozens of villages and habitations, infrastructures, schools. They have set on fire olive trees, but also the agriculture of the area and the land of the area in what many experts are qualifying as an ecocide. So the Israeli violations continue. Lebanon has to negotiate, there is no doubt about it, but at the same time should not accept the terms of the negotiations in the way Washington and Tel Aviv are imposing them. And I think there should be a Lebanese diplomatic effort through Paris, through Turkey, through Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, the new alliance, through all actors in the region and in Europe that could support the Lebanese position against the Israeli crimes and violations of international law.
Now, I just want to ask quickly about Hezbollah because Israel is carrying out these actions saying that they need to defend themselves. But Hezbollah is not a party to the current talks or this tenuous truce. So if they are not a part of the process, do you believe the process can succeed?
No, that's definitely an important issue. Now, I don't buy any Israeli justification. They always justify their acts of aggression, whether in the West Bank, as you showed a few minutes ago, where they carry an annexation against international law, whether in Gaza when it comes to the genocide, or whether when it comes to South Lebanon and their occupation and a series of war crimes. However, the question is definitely legitimate because Hezbollah is also opposed to the negotiations. The party considers that what's happening between Tehran and the United States, between the Iranians and the Americans with the Pakistani mediation, is more important for them than what the Lebanese government is doing. And we have this vicious circle that is Israel considers that it will not end its occupation until Hezbollah is disarmed. And Hezbollah would always say that it will not disarm until the end of the Israeli occupation and until there is a kind of an agreement in the region, especially between Iran and the United States. So the Lebanese government or the Lebanese president, they are in a way in this kind of configuration where they cannot have lots of possibilities to explore solutions. But at the same time, as I said, they contributed to making their position even weaker by only accepting the mediation of the United States that has never been a kind of a fair mediator, because the US is a support of Israel. It has always supported the Israeli attacks in Lebanon, in occupied Palestine, in Iran, of course. And there is a need for a Lebanese dialogue so that Hezbollah would accept internally to let the Lebanese army deploy in some areas in South Lebanon, and more diplomatic efforts outside Lebanon. And also, and contrary to what was mentioned in the framework agreement with Israel or the accord, Lebanon should also look into possibilities of bringing the Israelis to international courts due to all their war crimes, ecocide, herbicide, that have been committed on the Lebanese soil.
I want to talk for a moment about those areas where the Lebanese army is deployed. Israel has said it has pulled its troops out from there. So what do we know about what's really going on in the ground in those areas?
Yeah. Those areas are Zawtar al-Gharbiyya, Froun, and Ghandouriye. One of them is in the southern part of or to the south of the Litani River. The other two were not occupied directly, but were under the Israeli control through the fire, and they are to the north of the Litani River. The Lebanese army deployed there, but the Israelis continue to harass the army, and the mechanism that was put in place also gives the Israelis the right, which is illegitimate, but if we want to use that term, the right to make sure that security arrangements, let's say, correspond to the Israelis, to the Israeli expectations. And that is also by itself something strange in international law, because this is inside the Lebanese illegally occupied territories. So the army is deployed there. And the Lebanese negotiator team last time in Rome, in Italy, asked for other zones from which Israel should withdraw and the Lebanese army deploy in order to continue this process of gradual withdrawal and Lebanese army deployment. The Israelis rejected and said and brought new items to the negotiation related to an important strategic hill called Ali Tahir that they want now to seize, or they pretend that Hezbollah has important infrastructure in it and they want to destroy it, or they want to make sure that the army goes inside. The issue is that even if the army takes over this hill, the Israelis can also say that we want to make sure that everything is now cleared and that the security that we want to impose is respected. So we have a serious issue. The negotiations are not so far progressing. The Israelis continue to violate the ceasefire. And I think the Lebanese question is very much connected, we cannot deny it, to the regional question, to what will happen between Iran and the US, and to what will happen in the Palestinian occupied territories, with one priority, which is to use all diplomatic options to bring in the international community, to bring in regional and Arab actors, but also European ones, France, to put pressure on the Israelis to stop the destruction of homes, of infrastructure in the occupied zone, and to stop their airstrikes and attacks on Lebanese civilians in other areas.
Ziad, thank you. It's great to have you on the program. Thank you for talking with us. That's Ziad Majed, a professor of Middle East Studies at the American University of Paris.